Stephen Mallon to Derry City, welcome. How are you? You well?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you?
I'm fine, not a bother. I tell you what, we'll go back to where it started, I think, for you as a kid. How did you get into football?
I think it were just kind of being from a footballing family. I had brothers that were massively into football. So I think growing up in the household, like big Man United supporters. So I think just being in around that environment and from a young age, from there, I think it was about 5 or 6 was my kind of first real memories of football. I always had a ball at my feet. I actually used to sleep with my boots on, just because I just love football. So I think it all started through kind of my family, and then my oldest brother, he was big into football, so he took me actually to my first club. And I started out Donegal Celtic. I was 7. Yeah, 7. I had played my first game when I was 7. So
you played your kind of later youth careers at St Oliver Plunkets, is that right?
Yeah,
and they're based in Belfast, is that right?
Yeah. I'm not actually too far from home, about 5 minutes down the road. I signed there when I was 10, and I was there until I moved across to Sheffield. So it in my area in Belfast, it's a huge club. It's it's seen as kind of the club that produces the young talent, and they've had in the past so many players go across to England. So I think it's just everything about that club, the coaches, and just the way they go about things. It's an unbelievable club.
What kind of players actually moved over from there? Would you know?
The 2 years above me, there was Stephen Fallon. He went to Swansea. Now playing for Linfield. You had Ben Kennedy. He signed for Stevenage. He's still there. Levi Ives, who plays for Cliftonville now, he went to Torquay. Actually played for Torquay's first team. Then the year below that, which would have been the year above me, there was Joe Crow. He signed for Norwich. He's also at Glentoran at the minute. So I was the only one from my age group, but the 2 age groups above me, particularly the 1997s, they were kind of seen as the golden era, and they had 6 players go across from the one team.
That's actually mad, isn't it?
It was unheard of.
Yeah, for one youth club to do that, like in the space of literally one team, you said 6 players.
Yeah, one team.
That's incredible. Now you moved over to Sheffield in 2019, Sheffield United. How did that come about for you?
It was actually from the Milk Cup. Growing up as a kid, I was never really interested in playing for like the Antrim setup or the Northern Ireland setup. It was just, I was always I just wanted to have fun, enjoy my football. So I knew I was getting that at St Oliver Plunkett. I was enjoying going to training Tuesday and Thursdays, playing my games at the weekend. So I think at 13, 14, I was never interested in kind of the more serious. I knew that going into there, that's when it became a bit more serious. You were being judged, and I just wanted to enjoy myself. And luckily, obviously, I had my brother who was, he kind of looked over my football and just kind of pointed me in the right direction. And he was big into the idea of, I just enjoy it at 13, 14. And then it came there around 15. My brother said to me, look, we need to my brother and my agent at the time actually kind of said, things are getting a bit more serious, and if you want to move away, now is the best time to get involved with everything. So I'd always been asked to go up to the Antrim setup and Northern Ireland setup, and I just turned it down. But we knew things were getting a bit more serious. So I went and trialled for the Antrim team and made the squad and went to the Milk Cup with Antrim. And it was unbelievable tournament. We got beaten in the final by Corinthians. They were a great side, but that kind of tournament is what everyone in the north kind of looks to is the shop window.
Was that after that tournament? Was that the tournament that you felt actually there's something on here? Like I'm actually good, you know, that kind of way, or did you feel before that going into the tournament that? When did you realise you were you had something basically? You had a bit of talent that you could maybe progress a bit more.
I think from a young age, like I was always kind of used to being like that main player, like even from when I was younger at Donegal Celtic, I was playing like 3 years above myself, and then when I was dropping down to my own age group, it was a lot easier for me. So I think it was from a young age I kind of knew that I had a bit of talent, and it was more towards I had a spell where I was like everything slowed down. I didn't progress as quickly, and players were catching up on me. That was around probably 13, 14. And then it was more 15, 16 was when I really kind of got into it. And I kind of, always growing up, my goal was to get to England. So I had in my head from that age that I was going to get something. And if I worked hard enough, my ability was there. It was just about making sure that I was working hard enough. So I think it was around that time when I kind of going into the Milk Cup. I'd already had experience of going across to England. I was at Ipswich before the Milk Cup. I was at Leicester, so it was going into the Milk Cup. It was like I knew, right, this is a massive week for me. I need to kind of do the business to make sure that I get a contract sorted. So it was, I wouldn't say like there was pressure there, but I kind of enjoyed pressure and felt that that's when I kind of rose to the occasion and kind of stepped up.
So when you moved to Sheffield United, did you find the initial move difficult off the pitch? Did you find the fact that you're a young lad, you're moving over to England? People mightn't think it's a big deal, but it can be a big deal to young players, can't it? And the setup at Sheffield United is obviously very different, you know. How did you find that?
Yeah, it was tough. It was. I think the toughest part for me was the transition from training on a Tuesday, Thursday, and a match Saturday to training every single day. Maybe off on a Wednesday, training the rest of the week, and a game on the Saturday. So that was obviously different, but also moving away from home. Going into a digs and living with my landlady and landlord. It was different. I didn't have my mum. I didn't have the rest of my family. I didn't have my friends. So I found for the first couple of months, that's what I found difficult, kind of adjusting to new surroundings and the new environment. And because from a young age, I'd never experienced anything like it. I was always a homeboy, like, and I never really went away anywhere, even like holidays and stuff. I was always at home. So going away, it was different. I thought it would have been a lot easier than it actually was, but I think that was because in the build-up I was going over to Sheffield quite a bit, so I kind of got used to it. But that was only for a week and weekends. When you actually move over and it's permanent and it gets to 1 month in, and I might be going home for another 3-4 months, it is tough. And I can see why a lot of people end up coming back that have the talent to stay there. It's not just ability, it's kind of having that mental toughness to kind of be resilient and stay there and see it out. And because it does get easier. I noticed that kind of having the Irish lads there with me helped massively, because you just kind of stick together. The English lads were great and I got on with them all, but I just gel with the Irish lads and they were kind of in the same situation as me. So just having them around and kind of we were able to talk about the same experiences. Like I'd be feeling away and the other Irish lads would feel that way too, just missing home. And so I find that was a lot easier to deal with and it helped massively. But it is definitely a tough thing to do.
No, definitely. Would you have talked to the senior players of Sheffield United, the likes of John Egan and that, the senior Irish players? Would you have spoke to them much, or?
I would have recently, but I moved to Sheffield in 2015.
Initially,
yeah. So at that time there was only Michael Doyle. I think he
Yeah,
was the
exactly.
only.
That's a bit different. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas there wasn't many Irish players. Whereas
Mm.
now, you've got John Egan and Enda, and both of them are just like really dead on, and they kind of look after the Irish lads as well. Anytime we're up, John's always asking, "Are we going home anytime soon? And how are we? And how's things going?" And getting that from like he's a Premier League player, like just having that, having that interaction and stuff. It's like an unbelievable feeling. But obviously with him being Irish as well, it's a lot better. So
yeah, and then Enda Stevens played in the League of Ireland as well for a good few years. So I don't know if that helped you in your move to Derry, but we'll come back to that one a bit later. So you played in the under-23s of Sheffield United, haven't you?
Yeah.
And how did you find that? How did you find the step up, even at under 23 level? I know that a lot of clubs in the Premier League, you see a lot of very good players playing at that level, don't you? In fairness, like what's the step up to that level for you? Like,
I actually found under 18s tougher
really?
than under 23s. Yeah, and it's probably because at under 18s, you've got people playing for pro contracts, and they're on scholarships, and everyone wants to get a professional contract. So the league is a lot more competitive. Like winning the league actually means something at under 18, and that's something as a group you look towards. Whereas when you step into 23s, it then becomes, right, I want to make the first team. So no one really focuses on winning the league, and there's a kind of different angle. But what I noticed is it's actually the tempo is a lot slower, but the quality goes up. So
right,
the quality of the players are better, but you find a lot of players that kind of are like having themselves and don't want to run about, or you get experienced pros that come down and
they've been injured or something like that as well, don't you? Yeah.
You get a lot of pros that come down, and there's been pros that have came down and treat an under 23 game like it's a first team game, but you get a lot of pros that come down and they just stroll about, and so I think that takes away from the intensity, and on the ball you have a bit more time, but as I say, then the quality goes up. You come up against some real good players. Playing as a wing back for Sheffield United, I would have came up against like some real talented wingers. And me being an attacking player, it was tough. I found it tough to defend against very attacking wingers, skillful wingers.
At under 18 level, would you have come up against, what kind of teams would you have come up against? Would you have come up against any really good sides?
Because we're in we're a category 2 side, you come up against a lot more championship. Premier League, you get like your Crystal Palaces, your Watford, that are category 2 also, but the kind of better sides at under 18 are your Man United, your Cities, your Chelseas. They're all category 1.
Yeah.
So the only way you can really draw them is the FA Youth Cup. And we came up against Reading in the FA Youth Cup, who were a very good side. Josh Barrett, he was actually playing in that Youth Cup game. They beat us 3-1 in extra time. We conceded last minute to go to extra time. But they were a really good side. Josh was like the main man for them at under 18. I think he'd been in around the first team, and so games like that were tough, but we never actually really came up against the top sides, like I say, the Cities and the Chelseas. So
in 2019, I think you were on loan in Australia, Central Mariners or Central Coast Mariners.
Central Coast Mariners.
How did that come about? Like, we were just talking about your move to England. That must have been a big move to Australia.
I were playing 23s, and I were kind of consistently performing well, and it was my first actual crack at it fully without having any injuries, because I had a lot of injuries over the years, like ankle injuries and stuff, and it always I'd get going and then something would happen, and you're like, just my luck, really.
It doesn't help. I'm always saying that, actually. It doesn't help a young player's development, especially because if you're picking up injuries, like, and it's ruthless, isn't it? At that level as well, like
100%.
it's ruthless. But no, that doesn't help you at all.
Yeah. But yeah, I had kind of 6 months where I was injury free and I got on form and I was doing well, and the academy manager just put me in and said, look, I think it's time you go and experience some senior football. And so I actually went to Tranmere for a week and trained with Emmons in League Two. And that was actually going to go through. And then I got called into the office by the academy manager and he said, look, I don't know what you think of this, but would you want to go to Australia and play in the A League in Australia? And it was actually Nick Montgomery, who ex-Sheffield United player. He was the assistant manager. Right. So that's how the move kind of came about. Yeah. They didn't have a big budget and they needed a loan. And they needed a left wing back. So I flew out there in January. And was there till May, and it was an unbelievable experience, football experience as well as a life experience. Just being in a different culture, being in a different country, and it was completely different to what I was used to.
How do you find the style of football actually over
there? It was weird because it wasn't high intensity pressing in your face, because obviously you were playing in 37, 38 degrees, but it was tough because of that. So I found you had a lot more time on the ball, but I found myself that when I did have time on the ball, I didn't have the energy to go and dribble people or do something because I just felt sapped.
But you were playing left wing back in that.
Yeah. It was like, I was there about 2 weeks, and the second game I started left wing back, played 90 minutes, and it was the hardest thing I've ever done. We were like up against it as well, against Sydney away. We'd gone 1-up actually in the first half, and they were just like tormenting us. We were pinned back, and it got to the stage where we were going forward, and I was like, I'm staying back. It was horrible.
You couldn't give anymore.
No, I just feel my legs cramping, and I was boiling. But they're the kind of moments you have to dig in, and it was just, we knew we had to grind something out of that game, and that's what kind of got me through it. Just the thought of we need to.
It actually gets you conditioned well for football in the Northern Hemisphere, let's say. It's not as hard, certainly in Britain and Ireland, you know what I mean? So it must be a doddle when you come back to playing Britain and Ireland.
The thing is, it wasn't even. It would have been if our season finished I think it was towards mid-April, and that was us done. Our training had dropped off. We weren't running as much, and coming back from them was obviously too long. So I needed to be fit, and it was like I'd come back and I'd maybe 2 weeks to Toulon, whereas I hadn't been doing much the 3 weeks before. So it was like a layoff, and it was like, right, I need to get going again. So because I'd been off, and then the change of climate again, and it was a nightmare, but I kind of got there in the end. Yeah,
it's a good experience, as you say. Now you moved to Derry City, obviously, 2020. I was trying to think of the year for a second there. How did that come about? Did you speak to Chris Wilder personally, or did you speak to the kind of coaching staff at Sheffield United? Where did Declan Devine come into the equation as well?
It all started from David Parkhouse. He'd spent time alone there, and he was saying to me, you should go there. If Derry wanted you, you should definitely go and get some experience in that league. He says it would be good for you. The league would suit you. And first, I was like, because I didn't really know much about the league, I didn't know what to expect, and I knew he'd gone there and done so well, and it put him in a good place. So I remember saying to my agent, look, what do you think of this? Do you think that would be a good move for me or whatnot? And he actually contacted Paddy McCourt, and luckily enough, Paddy was like, yeah, we'd love to have him. And then Declan called me, and I spoke with Declan, and from that conversation straight away, I just thought, I want to go there, get some experience, play some games. And it was my agent actually spoke to Sheffield United, and then from there, it's kind of, I actually ended up parting ways with my agent in the middle of it. So it was actually my brother that dealt with the rest of it. So my brother spoke to Declan and dealt with what needed to be done, and I came to Derry at the start of January.
And were you staying in Derry as such? I know you're from Belfast, but were you staying in Derry? Like,
yeah, I was just over the border in Donegal, Carrigan's. So okay. It was 10 minutes from the Brandywell, so it was handy enough. I was traveling up and down maybe once, twice a week on my days off coming up to Belfast, because over the 5 years before I'd been in England, I didn't have much time to see my family. So just any opportunity I got, I'd make my way up to Belfast just to spend some time with my family, make up for what I'd missed out on.
And how do you find the city of Derry to stay? I know you're 10 minutes away, but obviously you're staying in the city as such, you know?
Yeah, no, I've been in and around, like in shopping centres and stuff like that, and it's quite similar to Belfast, I think. The people are really friendly, and even like fans and stuff, everyone was real welcoming when I came to the club. So I've enjoyed being there. I've enjoyed the city, and I'd want to go and see more. Like, I haven't actually gone and explored and kind of done all the different memorial stuff, and that's something that I want to do. If I go back
there.
It's hard
to go around the shops at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, you were on a 6-month loan. Did you have an option, or do you have an option to extend that, Stephen? Or
yeah. So initially it was till 31st of June, and then the option to extend. Yeah. So that's what we agreed.
That's good. So you started the season, I think Derry City had 4 games, didn't they? A bit of a mixed bag actually at the start, wasn't it? I think Dundalk away was a defeat at Oriel Park, 1-0 in fairness, a late goal. You beat Bowes 2-0 at home, and I think you got a bit of a cracking goal in that game as well. I know the Bowes fans were cursing you a bit, so that's always a good sign. And you scored down in Waterford. Unfortunately, a late goal did us there as well. But then, so a bit of a dramatic start, really. You drew 1-1 with Finn Harps, and that was a late equaliser. So, yeah, how did you feel over the 4 games, and how did you find I don't know if the standard of football or style of football, how did you find it yourself personally?
Obviously, the first game, Dundalk away, I didn't start. I was disappointed, but obviously I knew it was Decky's decision, and I respected that, and I knew that obviously I had to work harder then to get in the team. So, the second game, Finn Harps, we drew 1-1. The wind was all over. The weather was horrible. And I came on in that game and I done well. And I think that was kind of the turning point where it was like, right, he's got to start, and that's when I kind of earned my chance. And then the Bows game, obviously that were a great game. We played very well. We defended well. Going forward, we were good. But the standard, because there's some very good players, which I was surprised with. Technically, some very good players, even every day in training, I kind of see it. With like Connor Clifford and even the young lads like Jack Mallon and stuff like that, Jamie McDonough, some real technical players. But I find that 1v1 coming up against fullbacks was much easier. I think you come up against a lot of experienced fullbacks that aren't maybe as athletic and kind of read the game better, and that's kind of, for me, that's I enjoy that, because I know I can just knock the ball and go by people. I'd much rather come up against a fullback like that than an athletic one that's gonna just outpace me. Or so I actually enjoyed the first 4 games. I enjoyed. I thought I was getting a lot of the ball, and I was actually having a lot of joy. So the league, I think, what Parky said, it suits me, like just as a quick winger and getting crosses in the box. It's just, I think that the league is good for me. I think this, you've different, obviously there's different teams play different ways. You come up against the Dundalk and they'll try pass you to death or whatnot. Whereas then you go to Finn Harps and it's long ball the whole game. I was actually surprised with Bows. I thought they'd have played a bit more, but that was quite long ball as well.
Really?
I don't know. Yeah, that game was very long ball. Everything
that is
kinda,
unusual for them. You're right.
Yeah.
You wonder if maybe they saw something tactically and they worked on that, and maybe it didn't work. You know yourself, but they would be known as generally kind of a direct, fast passing side kind of thing. But it's interesting that you notice the differences between the teams that you played against as well. Would you find Waterford, were they any different in terms of style?
Waterford were very direct. They played into the big man up top, and he actually done well holding everything up, and they played off him.
Was that Michael O'Connor, was it?
Yeah, it was.
They
were very direct. Everything from the centre half was just, they didn't try to play out at all. It was just up to the big man, and it worked because they were getting joy. Runners off the striker, they were doing well. So I guess you gotta play to your strengths, and it may not look nice, but they've got a big man up top that can do that stuff well.
It can be effective. From Derry's point of view, how would you describe Derry's style of play?
Generally?
It obviously suits you,
I think that Decky has kind of emphasised that we want to play. We don't want a long ball. We want to get it down, and we want to pass teams to death. We want to get balls wide, get crosses into the box. So that for me is my preferred way of playing. I don't like when it's just long ball, and because then you barely touch it and you're not really involved. So I think the style that Derry play suits me a lot. The fact that we want to play and we've got players that can play, that's obviously a big thing. You do need the players to play the right system. So we've got, as I said, the likes of Conor Clifford and Conor McCormick, Jackie, who can all get on the ball and move it about. So no, we've got some real good technical players. So I think us actually playing out suits us a lot.
Yeah, and you feel the likes of Owen Toll are very comfortable on the ball as well, aren't they? In fairness, like.
I knew him growing up. I played against him at Armagh and stuff. And I think he's just one that's progressed massively. It just is like real mature performances for a 20-year-old.
I know he's in the Derry team since I think he was 17. It feels like he's in years, like, and he's only 20, 21, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think just on the ball, he's unbelievable. His composure and his 1v1 defending as well. I don't think he'd be around the League of Ireland much longer. Like
I know he was linked. Yeah, he's linked with a couple of clubs over in England, and I'd be shocked if he's not gone to England the next year or two. Put it that way.
Yeah, definitely.
Now you've two caps for the Irish under-21s. Is that a jersey behind you? Is that one of the? Is that your debut, like as such?
That's my debut under 17 Euros. Yeah,
that's the under 17 Euros. And how did that go for you? How did you find that overall?
I loved that. That was obviously my first experience with Republic. So it was unbelievable. We played Finland, Sweden, and Montenegro. And it was just the experience, you know, the switch from the north to the south and the difference in how it was set up was just, I found it was.
Is there a big difference, really?
Yeah, massively. I found it was more like detailed, and there was a lot more meetings and stuff. But the manager at the time, Tom Mallon, he was unbelievable. Like, I think with Northern Ireland, we kind of every game we kind of set off and it was negative, and whereas that my first trip away, it was like, right, we're pressing from the start, like we're getting after them, we're going to get the ball down and play. And I think that's obviously what the Stephen Kenny, the senior manager, wants to do as well. So I think
that's a bit of a culture shift in Irish soccer in the last few years.
Massively, yeah.
Definitely, because you're talking about with Northern Ireland there, the Republic would have been the exact same. But there has been a culture shift, and you see some of the talent coming through with the Irish young setups. It's not just that they're talented players, but they're very good technically. You see defenders who are very comfortable on the ball, and that's unheard of in Ireland for many years. You know? So obviously there's a switch there as well. But you found that What kind of players would you play with at Ireland underage, under 20, be that under 20? Who was the under 21 manager actually when it was Kenny there?
Yeah,
Kenny was the manager.
It was Stephen Kenny. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Going through my age group all the way through to 21s, you would have had Jason Malumbi, Leo Connor, Dara O'Shea, Declan Rice was actually in my 17s team at the time. Who else would you have had? Canis Carroll. He's gone to Stevenage. He's at. So we actually had like a core group that went all the way 17s, 19s, 21s. You had a few lads that kind of fell off and new lads came in, but kind of the core of the group, the Jason Malumbis and Dara O'Shea's, they're unreal players. Like, and I think that they're definitely the players that are gonna go on and be big names for Ireland in the future.
Yeah, I think without question the two you've named for sure. Right, best player you played with, Stephen. Career so far. Now you've named a few there, and I'm thinking this could be tough.
Yeah, I'll probably best player I've played with. In fact, I'd probably say David Brooks.
David Brooks at Sheffield.
Yeah,
still at Sheffield United. Yeah.
He's a Bournemouth.
Bournemouth.
Yeah.
He was at. Sorry.
Yeah, it'd be him or Declan Rice. Declan was actually a centre half when I played with him. But he was just so composed and on the ball he was unbelievable.
Where do you think his best position is in your opinion? Do you think it's midfield or centre back?
I think that holding role suits him. In between the back four, midfield screening, and I think that suits him. Whereas then David Brooks is obviously the opposite. He's out and out attacker and can, switch games on their head like instantly. So I think he was just training with him every day and seeing some of the stuff he done was unbelievable. So I'd definitely say them two. But you've got the likes of Jason Malumbi and Leo Connor who are real talents. Aaron Connolly, in fact, I forgot about him. He's another one. Unbelievable. I'd say they'd be my top three: Aaron Connolly, Declan Rice, and David Brooks.
It's a pretty good list, to be fair. Best player you played against?
Best Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Really?
Yeah, Wan-Bissaka. He was at Palace at the time. It was an under-23 game, and I remember you
directly came up against them as well.
Yeah. I was playing left wing at the time, and I ended up switching to right wing because it was my manager that actually switched me. It wasn't going forward. I found hard. It was going back, which is surprising because everyone says he's better going back than what he is forward. But
he looks like he has an engine that he can just.
Yeah, it was just the pace. Like he was knocking the ball and just turning it on, and his pace is frightening. Like going the other way, I found it was a lot easier than actually going the other way. But now he's probably the toughest opponent I've came up against.
Yeah, it's good to say from your point of view that he's one of the best right backs in the Premier League that you came up against. So you know what I mean. There's no shame in struggling if you struggle to get somebody like that. Put it that way. We'll finish off with a few teammate questions, Stephen. The most skillful player in training? At Derry City now.
At Derry.
Yeah. These are all Derry related now.
I'd pick myself for that. But
if I
can't pick myself,
everyone does this.
If I can't pick myself, I'd probably say either Jackie or Walter Figueira.
Yeah, Walter's. Yeah, he was at Waterford before. Would have seen a lot of him. Yeah. Hardest trainer.
Hardest trainer, Colin Horgan, 100%. Either Colin Horgan or Conor McCormick.
Yeah, McCormick is in the league a few years. I'd say he's very, leads by example there. Does he a bit?
Yeah, just professional. Like everything's done properly.
Yeah, he's won league titles as well. Who's the comedian in the dressing room?
Jamie McDonough. Easy that
one. Away.
Yeah, 100% Jamie. Yeah, just everyone finds it funny. I don't think there's anyone that dislikes him. And I actually knew Jamie.
Does he mean to be funny though?
Yeah, he does. He's got some good banter. I knew him from Sheffield United when he was there, and he was the exact same at Sheffield United, in the changing room. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Who's the most vain in the team? So who can't get out of the mirror, basically?
It's actually not too bad. There's not one that stands out.
Right.
So if I had to pick one, I'd probably go Connor Clifford.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably from his West London Chelsea days.
Yeah. He's not actually too bad, but we've got a squad that's.
But if you have to pick one, it's him.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say Connor.
Who's the moaniest person in training?
Can't
stop moaning no matter what.
I'd probably say myself again, but
really?
if I can't say, I do like a moan, but if I can't say myself, I'd probably say Ollie Gilchrist.
Right.
Yeah, he doesn't mind the moan.
Yeah. He's Scottish, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. Who's the worst dresser in the squad?
Nathan Gartside. He come like there's lads that don't care what they wear, but Nathan's having some of the stuff he wears and
serious,
dreadful.
So the best dresser?
I'd probably go Connor Clifford. Yeah.
Enough.
Not bad, yeah.
Fair enough.
Got some
Who's
good
the biggest lunatic in the squad now? Who would you say he's just crazy? You know what I
mean? Jamie McDonough could take that one. But I don't know if that's just because he's a joker. I'd say Owen Toll would be up there.
Would he? Yeah.
I'd say he'd be a bit mad.
I'd say he'd be a bit mad.
Yeah. No, I'd probably say Jamie and Owen. Yeah.
Right, that's brilliant, Stephen. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it. It was great stuff having you on. All right.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No matter.
No worries.